we're tackling a pretty huge topic, marital problems.
Hmm.
But we're going at it from a unique angle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at it through the lens of a Christian ministry called Temple's Table.
Mm.
Specifically, their episode, what is it called? Marital Problems. That's it.
Interesting. So, are we going to see how faith plays a role in their approach to marriage?
Absolutely. And they actually kick things off with a classic,
Yeah.
the line from Genesis about it not being good for man to be alone.
Right, right. Genesis.
But they don't just leave it there.
Okay, so where do they go with it?
Well, they connect this whole idea of companionship to the very core of marriage. You know, like it's meant to be this incredible source of support, a built-in partner to help navigate the ups and downs of life.
Makes sense. Having someone in your corner through thick and thin.
Exactly. It's like having a teammate, a partner in crime for all of life's adventures. But then they hit us with this line that really grabbed my attention. Marriage brings out the best and worst in most people as two separate individuals struggle to live as one flesh.
Whoa. Okay, that's getting deep.
Right. They're not sugarcoating anything. They're acknowledging that merging two lives, two distinct individuals, can be messy and complicated.
Yeah, I mean, blending two completely different backgrounds, personalities, that's bound to create some friction.
For sure. And Temple's Table actually pinpoints a specific culprit as the root of most marital problems.
I'm intrigued. What do they say is the main issue?
Selfishness. Straight up.
Oh, selfishness, really?
Yep. They suggest that when we put our own wants and needs above our partners, that's when the cracks start to show.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It's like forgetting that you're on the same team.
exactly. You're not competing against each other. You're supposed to be working together, supporting each other.
Right. But if selfishness is the problem, what's the solution? What's Temple's Table's antidote to this marital poison?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. They turn to the concept of compassion. They're basically saying, ditch the bitterness, the anger, the urge to lash out. Instead, embrace kindness and forgiveness. And they actually pull inspiration from Christ's example of forgiveness.
So it's not just about being superficially nice. It's about a deeper change, a more compassionate approach to your partner.
Right. It's about cultivating empathy, truly trying to see things from your partner's perspective, even when you disagree.
I like that. Choosing understanding over conflict. But how does this actually play out in real life? Do they give any concrete examples?
They do, and this is where we get into some potentially tricky territory.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, they bring up the concept of submission in marriage. Specifically, they reference a passage from Ephesians.
Ah, yeah, submission. That's definitely a loaded term. I can already imagine some people getting a little uneasy with that.
It's understandable, but it's important to remember the context here. They're drawing on a specific passage that talks about wives submitting to their husbands, but they're quick to clarify that it's not about one partner dominating or controlling the other.
Okay, so not subservience, but then what's their angle? What are they getting at with this whole submission thing?
Well, Temple's Table really stresses mutual respect and service. They're saying both partners should prioritize each other's needs. Think of it less like a hierarchy and more like a partnership, where both people willingly choose to consider their spouse's needs before their own.
Interesting. So it's more about the attitude, the willingness to serve, rather than one person dictating to the other.
Exactly. And they believe this spirit of service, which they model after Christ's example, can actually lead to a much more harmonious relationship, one where both people feel valued and supported.
Okay, that's a pretty nuanced take on a concept that can be, well, divisive, to say the least. But what about those situations where maybe one partner isn't exactly on board with this whole faith-based approach?
That's a great question. And actually, Temple's Table addresses that head on. They bring up this fascinating idea about the power of a wife's actions, specifically when the husband might not share her beliefs.
Wait, hold on. Are they saying a wife can somehow convert her husband simply through her behavior? That sounds a little too good to be true.
Haha, no, not quite a magical conversion. It's more about leading by example. They refer to a passage from Peter that basically says, sometimes the best way to share your faith isn't through arguing or preaching, but through the way you live your life.
Okay, so actions speak louder than words. Showing your partner the impact of your faith through your actions. Kindness, respect, genuine care, instead of trying to force them into believing something they don't.
Exactly. They believe a wife's actions, when rooted in faith and love, can be way more persuasive than any argument or lecture. And it goes beyond just a non-believing spouse. This idea, letting your actions reflect your beliefs, it can impact any relationship, even outside of marriage.
That's a powerful thought. But I'm noticing a trend here. They seem to be weaving faith into every aspect of marriage. It's like they're saying, hey, a shared faith, a shared commitment to something bigger than yourselves can be a huge unifying force in a marriage.
Right. They see it as this bedrock, this solid foundation that a marriage can be built upon.
So it's not just about the couple themselves, but about bringing in a third party, their faith, their shared belief system.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how they connect this belief to practical advice. They emphasize learning from those who've walked the path before you, seeking guidance from elders in their faith community and approaching the whole marriage thing with humility.
So it's not just about praying together and crossing your fingers. They're encouraging couples to actively seek wisdom, support from their faith community, and approach their relationship with a healthy dose of humility, acknowledging that they don't have all the answers.
That's it. It's like they're saying, look, you don't have to figure this whole marriage thing out on your own. Lean on your faith, lean on your community, and just approach it all with a humble heart.
Wow, I'm really seeing how Temple's Table integrates faith into their approach to marriage.
Yeah.
It's not just a footnote, it's the foundation. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm curious, what are some of the key takeaways, like those nuggets of wisdom that we can extract from their perspective,
Yeah.
even if we don't necessarily share all of their beliefs?
That's a fantastic question. And actually, it's one we're going to explore a bit further after a quick break. It's funny, as we were talking before about Temple's Table, one of the things that really sticks out is how they manage to blend these universal relationship principles with their faith-based perspective.
Totally. It's like they're saying, hey, these basic truths about human connection, they're not just some random good ideas. They're actually rooted in something much deeper.
Right. And that's what makes their approach so interesting to me. They're not just throwing out tips and tricks, they're actually connecting them to this bigger picture of belief and meaning.
Okay, so let's break it down for a second. We talked about compassion and forgiveness and this whole approach to marriage with the spirit of service, all within the context of their faith. But what about those other relationship hurdles, like communication breakdowns or resolving conflicts or even just keeping the spark alive? Do they touch on any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. And it's really cool how they link these issues back to that core idea we discussed earlier, selfishness. They actually argue that a lot of communication problems come from a lack of empathy, being so fixated on our own needs and perspectives that we totally miss what our partner's trying to say.
Oh, so it's like that saying, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. It's about truly listening and trying to understand instead of just waiting for our chance to talk.
Exactly. And when it comes to resolving conflicts, Temple's Table really emphasizes humility. They suggest that if we approach disagreements with a willingness to admit our own mistakes and try to see things from our partner's point of view, it can really help to ease tension and find some common ground.
That makes sense. Choosing to de-escalate instead of adding fuel to the fire.
Right.
But I'm curious, how does this faith-based approach work when it comes to keeping the romance alive? Because let's face it, life gets busy, routines take over, and sometimes that initial spark can start to fade.
That's such a good point. And while Temple's Table doesn't necessarily dive into specifics like date night ideas or romantic gestures, they do stress the importance of continuously nurturing the spiritual connection in a marriage.
Okay, so it's less about those grand romantic gestures and more about fostering a deeper sense of intimacy and shared purpose. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, they suggest a few things, like praying together regularly or studying scripture as a couple, or even actively serving their community side by side. They believe that engaging in these shared spiritual activities can help couples stay connected on a deeper level, even when life throws those inevitable curveballs their way.
It's like you're saying, don't just build your marriage on common hobbies or interests, but build it on a foundation of shared values and spiritual connection. Finding that sense of unity that goes beyond just the day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. And it's so interesting how this all ties back to their overall view of the purpose of marriage. They see it not just as a way to achieve personal happiness or fulfillment, but as a reflection of Christ's love for the church.
Wow. So it's almost like they're saying your marriage isn't just about the two of you, it's a testament to something much bigger.
Precisely. And that perspective can be so incredibly empowering. It suggests that even when things get really tough, even when you're facing those inevitable challenges, you're not just fighting for your own happiness, you're fighting for something with a much deeper, eternal significance.
Okay, I can definitely see how that could shift your whole approach to marriage. But I'm also thinking about those who might not come from that same faith background. Is there anything in Temple's Table's message that could resonate beyond a specifically Christian worldview?
Absolutely. At the heart of it, their message really emphasizes the importance of selflessness and compassion and a commitment to something beyond just yourself. Those are values that can be applied to any relationship, regardless of your religious beliefs.
So even if someone isn't particularly religious, they can still glean some valuable insights from Temple's Table's perspective.
Definitely. And that's what I find so fascinating about exploring these different viewpoints. We can always uncover those little nuggets of wisdom, those universal truths about human connection in the most unexpected places.
All right, so we've talked about how Temple's Table tackles those everyday marital challenges like communication and conflict and keeping that spark alive. And we've explored how they integrate their faith into those practical tips. But I'm wondering, what about the bigger issues, the stuff that can really shake the foundation of a marriage? Things like infidelity, financial struggles, those major life changes that can feel insurmountable. Do they address any of that?
That's a really important question. And it's one that we'll explore in much greater depth right after this.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle those really big relationship hurdles. The issues that can truly test a marriage. We've seen how Temple's Table approaches those everyday challenges with compassion, with faith. But what about those huge curveballs life throws? The kind that can really shake you to your core?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. They actually acknowledge that even the strongest marriages can face storms, storms that threaten to just completely capsize the ship. Infidelity, financial strain, major life transitions, those unexpected twists and turns that can really make you question everything.
Okay, so they're not shying away from the heavy stuff.
Mhm.
But what's their approach? Do they have any concrete advice for how to navigate those treacherous waters?
They do. And surprisingly, it all comes back to that foundational idea we keep discussing, faith as that bedrock of marriage. Their belief is that when a couple is grounded in a shared belief system, in a commitment to something bigger than themselves, it gives them access to a wellspring of strength and resilience, the kind that can help weather even the most intense storms.
So it's like having an anchor in the middle of total chaos.
Right.
Doesn't mean the challenges become easier, but you have something to hold on to, a source of perspective and support.
Exactly. And they go beyond just saying, pray about it. They actually offer some tangible steps couples can take when facing these major life disruptions.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of those actionable steps?
Well, first and foremost, they emphasize seeking guidance within their faith community. They believe there's so much wisdom to be gained from the experiences of others, people who've walked similar paths and emerged stronger.
It's like tapping into this incredible support system of people who truly understand what you're going through, people who can offer practical advice, encouragement, that kind of thing.
Right. And they also place a lot of importance on individual and couples counseling, especially when dealing with those really deep personal issues like infidelity or trauma. They see therapy as this valuable tool for healing and growth, both individually and as a couple.
So it's not just about relying solely on faith. They recognize the importance of professional help, working through those deeper issues in a safe and supportive environment.
Absolutely. And they also underscore the importance of forgiveness, forgiving yourself and your partner. They acknowledge that healing those deep wounds takes time, intentional effort, and that forgiveness is often the most crucial step in that process.
That's powerful. It's so easy to get stuck in those cycles of blame and resentment. But they're suggesting that choosing forgiveness, even when it's incredibly difficult, can actually be a pathway to genuine restoration.
Exactly. And ultimately, they believe that even in those darkest moments when it feels like everything is falling apart, there's always hope. They see these challenges as opportunities for growth, for drawing closer to each other and to their faith.
It's a perspective that could be so empowering for couples facing those truly difficult situations. It's this reminder that even amidst the brokenness, there's always a possibility for healing, for rebuilding, for emerging from those trials stronger than before.
Even if someone isn't coming from that exact same faith-based perspective, there's still a lot of wisdom to be found in their message. The importance of seeking support, leaning into forgiveness, finding those sources of strength that help you weather life's storms, these are universal truths that can resonate with anyone, regardless of their beliefs.
Absolutely. It's a great reminder that we don't have to go through tough times alone, that there are resources available, and that even in the middle of pain and hardship, there's always a glimmer of hope. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired after this deep dive. It's been so fascinating to explore Temple's Table's perspective on marriage, to see how they intertwine faith into every aspect of their approach, and to uncover those universal truths that can benefit any relationship, really.
Me too, definitely. It's a good reminder that there are so many different paths to a successful and fulfilling relationship, and that exploring perspectives outside our own can often lead to the most unexpected insights.
I couldn't agree more. And to all of you listening out there, we would love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you from Temple's Table's approach? How do your own beliefs and experiences shape your views on marriage? Share your thoughts with us on social media. We're always excited to continue the conversation.
And remember, no matter what challenges you might be facing in your own relationships, never forget that there's always hope. Keep seeking support, keep those lines of communication open, and never stop growing, both individually and together.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those hearts open.